encourage you to go to that site and take a look at the most recent posting, with the blogger taking the editing opportunity to remove all of my replies and misrepresent most all of the meeting content that I went there for. By the way, at that same meeting that was filmed, Bob Starr came up to me afterwards and congratulated me for my patience in dealing with a hostile group and told me I made a great and compelling presentation. I thought I'd just pass that on. I'm going to take a few minutes here and tell you a little bit more detail about this slander campaign because it's important for you to know. This global blogger activist says I avoided answering questions because he cut them all out of the presentation that he put on the film. You should know that I stayed at that meeting for 2.5 hours while enduring a case of walking pneumonia to ensure I answered every question that every person had until they said that they had to close the building and get us out of there. The blogger suggests he wants to know which companies are we trying to recruit? Who are we talking to? The date of the calls. My answer, again in that blog, was cut off in this YouTube blog where I explained how ridiculous that concept was for me to be passing along the companies that we're dealing with. And I quote, "We want to know where the pipeline is and we want to know any particular day where I am in negotiations with each particular company." Because the blogger knows from over 25 years in sales experience that salespeople lie. And I'm going to tell you who doesn't lie. And that's the site consultants that I go to see at one of these conferences. And when I see a site consultant reach out to give Lucianne a big hug, I know that the sales call is being made. I know that the relationship is being built with the clients. Our anti-government blogger goes on to suggest that prospects are being made up, showing he has absolutely no concept of what it is that we're doing. I couldn't imagine being part of his sales force if he thinks they're all liars, but he wanted to take basic numbers for our monthly reports, which I told him he could find on the website. We do provide those basic numbers, and I got cut off again on the video of where one could go take a look at those results. The most evident of the blogger's ignorance was the total lack of understanding of the Florida Power and Light solar farm deal, which we presented a few weeks ago. He suggested that at that same public meeting that I went to, that Bob Starr was at, that we should be providing tax breaks to companies. That's how we should be recruiting companies here. Cut the taxes, that's the way to recruit business. Just cut everyone's taxes and everything will be perfect. Cut the taxes. So then just a few days later after I made this presentation, we report the incentive for this $135 million deal, which is essentially a tax break during the early years of their operation. Again, showing a total lack of understanding how the deal begins to work. Our favorite anti-government blogger further shows his ignorance at a commission meeting by stating, quote, "If we're putting in $1.5 million and revenues are $9 million, why isn't every bank not lining up to finance this deal?" I don't get it. It makes no sense. We're not financing a deal. We're providing a $1.5 million incentive because we're not financing a thing. The blogger follows this question up with, why would we be doing this? If it's such a great idea, why don't we do 10 of these projects while we're at it? And I think you guys responded appropriately well that we'd love to have 10 of these projects. Give me 20, bring them on all day long. But with no explanation, then the blogger says that the only reason I attended the meeting was to get you to spend $10 million to bring the Impact Building to Western Michigan. I want to resort back to what you just heard from Lucianne because she's exactly correct. We need to do whatever we can as a county to put together the programs for Western Michigan and FSW to ensure that we're provided the workforce talent that we need to market our community for better paying jobs. We lack that. I'm not trying to criticize the vocational center. I'm not trying to criticize FSW, but we need that higher education. We need that pipeline filled. The consultant wants to know not how many workers you have in this industry, but how are you going to keep filling that pipeline? I may get another competitor coming in. How are you going to fill that pipeline? And don't tell me the number of people that you have in college because half of them don't graduate. I want to know the pipeline. I want to know what's coming out the other end. So with that, I'd like to explain the FPL deal and the Cheney deal to you and put it in perspective that our web blogger, county abuse, whatever, suggests that we're going to do to drive this county broke. We do a $135 million deal with FPL. We do a $35 million with Cheney. That's $170 million of new ad valorem tax. At the conclusion of all incentives, we will be providing almost $1.1 million a year in new county tax base from those two projects, virtually the same amount as my county annual budget to operate this economic development department. And that $1.1 million will be reoccurring this year, next year, the next year, the next year. We got 30 years going of this from Cheney and FPL. $1.1 million will be coming in. So we've essentially, through those two projects, paid for the economic development department going forward for essentially, I'll say 30 years. Whereas I'm accused in this blog of wasting $4 million with no return. And by the way, the school board will also be getting a similar $1.2 million. Their ad valorem rate is the same. So this, I'm just counting the county side of things. The school board is also going to be getting that year after year amount of money. I want to take you to Polk County, which is where I came from before. Quick little history. I talked to you about the $170 million that we brought in this particular project. 2005 to 2009, these were my numbers in Polk County. 236 million, 74 million, 179 million, 165 million, and 189 million. Total of 843 million. Average that at 5-year results out is $168 million. That amounts to about $1.2 million each year. We created a new $1.2 million that went on forever. Next year, we created 1.2 that went on forever. And reoccurring compounded effect of that is a tremendous annuity. As Lucienne described, Charlotte County has a much more challenging issue than Polk County. Polk County sits between University of Central Florida, University of South Florida, has a STEM university of the Polytech in the middle, and it's right in the middle of the Florida high-tech corridor. Sorry, our educational opportunities are not quite that extensive from a regional basis. We strive to recruit Western Michigan to provide us one more solid base of jobs outside the core curriculum that FSW and the Vocational Center provide us for nursing and hospitality and AA degrees. They do a great job in those, and they fill our workforce needs from a hospitality and nursing perspective. But we need to aspire to get greater paying jobs in this county, and it's not going to occur for several years until we get programs in place at Western Michigan University, at FSW, and we get the talent pipeline flowing. It's going to take us, to answer the question earlier, 4 to 6 years just to get to that point. Okay, so that development, that opportunity that you mentioned with the universities is paramount. So here's what I suggest. First, we work harder with local business community at offsetting the ridiculous comments of the bloggers and naysayers in this community that think everything is bad. Everything is not bad in this community. We got some problems, but with a little bit of vision, the community can begin to slowly move forward in a direction of a more stable economy. You need the support, frankly, from the community and the vocal, because I feel the vocal minority is taking over this community, and the vocal minority is holding down this community tremendously. I came to my job the day that the road strategy was presented, and I've endeavored to probably hit about 90 to 95% of all of the items in the road strategy, because I believe my thoughts parallel the road strategy thoughts. It's an economic development perspective of where we need to go and what we need to do, and I followed the road strategy very closely. But after immense public ridicule on the impact incubator purchase that I've gone through, and I've got to tell you, about 50 letters to the editor, fire the bum, he doesn't know what he's doing. And you know, my local stock here dropped probably to about the level of a county commissioner that wants to buy more land at Murdoch Village. And that's about where I feel my stock basis is at this point. I've been browbeat ever since I initiated that incubator initiative. And by the way, that incubator initiative or project is now in Collier County. The incubator is full, and another incubator is being planned in Lee County, where they're focusing on organizing to go get legislative dollars to build that in their community, and they're surrounding the horses around the campsite to go make sure that that gets accomplished. As Lucienne described to you, this community needs 4 to 6 years to begin to fill the pipeline for better paying jobs. This community also needs strong marketing effort and initiative around the airport industrial sites. This community also needs some major redevelopment efforts in Parkside and in Charlotte Harbor, and yes, even in Murdoch Village. And I see Lucianne in recruitment, and I see Deborah in redevelopment up to those challenges. Second, and most important of all my comments today, my suggestion to you as a best next step for an economic development solution for this county is to fulfill the clause in my personal employment contract that suggests that you might decide to not renew my employment agreement with the county either on a prescribed employment anniversary date, which is February 14th, or an agreed date. And it may be deemed as dismissal without cause. I suggest a consensus from you today to establish a 3 to 4 month timeline to complete the Western Michigan University deal, one way or the other, whether we're successful or unsuccessful, and through your consensus today, agree to dissolve my employment contract at that time, essentially around the end of this fiscal year. I want to remain a loyal employee to the county through that process and ensure that all other outside considerations be put aside so as to ensure the focus on accomplishing that specific goal of recruiting Western Michigan University is accomplished. And third, and I looked at Julie Mathis back here as a chamber director. I wish the ECEC director were here today, but I'd like to begin a community force to bring young people, bring business people together to battle the undermining interest of these zealot groups, efforts that are out there that says everything the government does is bad. Government does belong in economic development. So the concept that government should stay out of everything, in my opinion, is totally wrong. The chambers, the ECECs, the families, they need to stand up to these naysayers so that they don't browbeat every employee in the county into not wanting to work here. And equally as bad, these naysayers that attack and misrepresent, discourage good people from wanting to volunteer at the county level, because they might be slandered in a similar way as to what I feel I'm being slandered on a particular website right now for trying to affect a change for a better county. I want to underscore the fact that the business community needs to get more solidly behind you at counteracting these attacks, particularly when the only skin in the game that many of these advocates have is the fact that they don't want to hook up to a sewer system to save Florida's second largest estuary, which is the heartbeat of this community. My daughter told me very recently that she used to love following my successes in newspapers and watching commission meetings. She has a lot of time to do that. And now she can't stand to watch me get attacked for doing what I like to do and bringing good jobs to a community, an investment to a community. My wife feels kind of the same way. It's really hard to see yourself browbeat day after day after day. You know it. You guys got elected for this. I don't know what you're thinking, but you know, this community can beat you down. We've got a young woman here that's charged with passion. She's got kids here. She's got a tremendous amount of interest in job opportunities for their future. And with the hire of a new quality recruiter, I think she can manage this process for you as well, perhaps better than I can. And lastly, I hope you would take the future saved dollars from my salary, if you enact this, to get yourself legislative help to go to Tallahassee and get funding for FSW to fill in the first 2 years of an AMP program to complement the Western Michigan Initiative. Whether they come or not, get the first 2 years of that program. Get a program of a pipeline that has something besides nursing students coming out of it to satisfy the retired population of this community. Get a second string, something going on. Construction's great. Every community in Florida lives and dies off the construction industry, though. Lobbying is a specialized field. I think you need a major initiative, both with a partnership with FSW, Western Michigan, lobbyists, and a business community groundswell of support to go to the legislature, get focused on an item, and let that be the item if you're going to have a vision to bring home education and workforce training opportunities to the community. So lastly, I don't want to see myself turn into a worthless, non-caring bureaucrat milking my existence and salary for 2 to 5 more years until I get to retirement age. I hope I have your support to set a date to dismiss me without cause once I've completed the Western Michigan recruitment process one way or the other. And that's all I have today.
Mr. Johnson? Tom, have been in this seat for a little over 4 years, and I believe one of the best things I ever did was hire you. And I think Tricia and I have the distinct honor of saying we're the only two commissioners that can claim that. I don't want to see you go anywhere, and so you're not going to get a vote from me to give you any sort of an end date. You're doing a great job. Your team is doing a fantastic job. This is not the easiest community to deal with respect to the numbers, with respect to what it is that we have to use to get out and attract those jobs. And so, having taken the reins just after the beginning of a major recession in this country and do what you've been able to accomplish has been a small miracle. And your legacy in Polk County with Legoland and the other things that you've been involved with and the relationships that you have, I mean, we're very fortunate to have you here. You're a caliber economic development director that I don't think we ever could have dreamed to get. And I still remember that day. We interviewed 3 people, and we were breaking for lunch, and we had 2 more people to interview, and I said, why are we going to even waste our time? This is our guy.
Realize one thing though, Commissioner, and that is we have set up a marketing strategy at the airport. We've got certified sites established at the airport. We've got marketing pieces established for the airport. The airport is our current future in this community right now around distribution and light manufacturing, because that's all we can fulfill on the workforce side. A highly capable person of going in marketing and bringing businesses to that particular area. Second part, we've got Murdoch Village, and I've got Deborah Forrester who does redevelopment and probably does it as well as anybody in the state to manage the redevelopment side of what we're trying to do. Now we're talking the next 4 to 6 years of trying to get a Western Michigan University in here, create a pipeline. I'm going to sit here for 4 to 6 years waiting for a pipeline to get to that area where my expertise really is, outside of creation of the marketing, creation of certified sites. These are a number of things that I've done everywhere I've ever gone. But I guess my point to you, Commissioner, is we're well positioned for that right now to move forward in that respect. And I think we could be a whole lot more effective if we take that salary money and move it towards accomplishing an initiative rather than having me sit here for 4 to 6 more years to wait until that pipeline starts sending out students where I can put those students in a technology type job. So while as much as I appreciate the comments, you need to also put yourself in my shoes and think of what the next 4 to 6 years looks like. And that's the part that isn't as compelling.
Okay, so this was going to be my original comment, probably halfway through your speech, was that in speaking with Dr. Land at FSW, she is very interested in partnering with other universities, not just Western Michigan. We talked about this a couple of years ago when I said, why don't we try to do SCAD, which is the Savannah College of Art and Design, or Full Sail, those types of technology schools. Well, University of Central Florida is really heavy into that type of tech pipeline situation. She would be very willing to work, not reinvent the